Boys, today we're rounding off the year. We're going to go through every single division, and I'm going to pick out the best fight in every division. Now, before we get started, there's going to be a little bit of criteria that need to be met for each of these picks, because I could easily pick some fights on here that could be considered one of the best fights of the year, best fights of each division. But criteria is very simple. It has to go all 3 or 5 rounds. It can't end in a finish. It has to be all rounds. And, that's the only real criteria. And because of that, I'm going to give you guys a little spoiler now. The heavier weight classes, especially I would say light heavyweight and heavyweight, the weakest ones on here. But every other weight class, some absolute solid fights. Each of these could be considered fight of the year. One of them I do believe is fight of the year, but start off with that flyweight division. Flyweight division, UFC 306. I believe on that Noche card, I have Edgar Chairez versus Joshua Van as the best fight of 2024 in that flyweight division. Going into this fight, Joshua Van was not training. He was coming off a devastating knockout loss literally 3 months prior to this. So he comes into here very short notice, wasn't training, coming off a knockout. Starting into round 1, Chairez started off very hot, good jabs, had lots of leg kicks where Van, he always looking very small in this division. Chairez damaged Van's leg badly in the first 3 minutes of round 1. Then straight right drops Van with less than a minute left. And I'm not gonna lie, watching this fight live, I was like, yeah, unfortunately Van's chin is gone. That's what I thought. I thought he was gonna get finished there. But Van, he was getting hit. He was getting outstrike and he did get dropped, but it wasn't like he was doing nothing. It was back and forth here and there. Just Chairez was getting the better of him. Round 2, Chairez starts round 2 with a flying knee straight to Van's chest. And as time got on, Van was starting to find his range. He did a lot better this round, landing some nasty combos that hurt Chairez bad. He hurt him with a nasty body combo and some nasty knees to the head in a clinch position. But as it was looking like Van was starting to get the finish here, Chairez literally looked like he was about to get stopped, but he landed a nasty spinning back fist that wobbled Van badly. While Chairez was looking for the finish, Van does take him down. He does recover for about 30 seconds. They go back on the feet where Chairez lands another nasty straight that hurts Van bad. Van goes for a takedown, stays on top for the rest of the round. It's 1-1 going into that third round. Both of each other having been rocked. And Chairez, I think he lost this round mainly because, both of them were rocked. Both of them were hurting each other. Van just had the better moments and more control time. So I give it 1-1. Going into that third round, Chairez is still hurt to that body. Van uses his range very well this round. He lands a weird trip on Chairez halfway through round 3. Goes for some heel hook, but heel hooks just don't really work in high-level MMA. Chairez gets up and gets the back of Joshua Van, pushes him up against the cage. Van gets another takedown and he stays on top with some ground and pound. One of the best flyweight fights of the year, and I don't know if I need to do much explaining. If you didn't watch this fight live, go watch it now. A banger. Let's go down to that Bantamweight division. Bantamweight division, no brainer, has to be a pretty recent one. Gonna be UFC Fight Night, Yan versus Figueiredo. The main event, obviously. And, I'm not going to go too deep into this fight because it was pretty recent and one of the best bantamweight fights of the year. Pretty much in the main event, Pirion did what majority of people thought he was going to do. He was using his boxing to control the fight with Figueiredo and was all around just too active. He out-grappled Figgy. And honestly, Yan's uppercut was nasty through this fight. Although, yes, Figgy did have his moments. It wasn't like a washout performance from Yan. Although if you look at the scorecards, you might think that. It was very even. Yan just doing slightly better throughout every single round. Figgy towards the end of the fight even drops Yan. So again, one of the fights, if you have not watched it, you need to go back and watch this fight. Let's keep moving down though. Featherweight division. This one was one of the first fights of the year. UFC Fight Night, Allen versus Curtis 2. I'm talking about Morgan Charrier versus Chepe Mariscal. This was, again, a lot of people are going to dog on this because they're thinking about, what about Ilya? What about this? Ilya finishes all his fights. He can't be here. This is strictly, it has to go to the decision. It has to be an all-out war, all 3 rounds or 5 rounds like Figgy. That being said, round 1, it starts fast. Mariscal attempts a few takedowns, some early submission threats, but Charrier gets back up. He lands some kicks, some leg kicks. Halfway through round 1, they break. They get out of some clinch positions where Marscar starts throwing some hard strikes, backing up Charrier to the fence, where he stays there for the last 30 seconds while Marscar is just landing some nasty shots. But Charrier does hit him with some nice shots here. He gets a scramble where they go back and forth on the feet, to be honest. Going into round 2, even though Mariscal, I did think he won round 1, his pace was just crazy. He is wearing majority of that damage. Round 2, both these guys start off fast again. Charrier really starts to find his range. This round, he lands some good strikes that hurt Mariscal early in round 2, picking his shots very, very nicely through the first 2.5 minutes, while Mariscal, he tries to land some heavy shots, but it's not, he's whiffing majority of them. Charrier wins round 2 with a better striking and the mixing of takedowns. Again, 1-1 going into the third. Round 3, both these guys even in the striking early round 3, but Mariscal lands a shot that hurts Charrier bad, having him back up against the cage where Mariscal starts to tee off on him. But Charrier is doing very well avoiding nearly all of these strikes, and it's looking like this dude was from the Matrix. Gets a good takedown, doing some ground and pound work. Mariscal is doing some good damage on the bottom, but Charrier is just doing better ground and pound work and control on the top for close to 2 minutes. But Mariscal, he eventually gets the scramble in the last minute and a half. But Charrier, he goes for some sort of submission, ends up getting scrambled. He's on the bottom for the rest of the fight, getting ground and pound. Again, back and forth war, all 3 rounds. Very, very competitive featherweight fight. Let's go down to lightweight now, because lightweight, this is my fight of the year. In my opinion, this is the best fight of 2024. This is my fight of the year. UFC 308. Uga Booga himself, Mayatek Orobai, taking on Metuis Rembeki. Rembeki starts off with a very fast, high-pressure game. He's landing the shots that are backing up Orobai to the fence. He's landing some shots. He hits a good shot that stumbles Orobai to the fence, but he recovers very fast. Rembeki, the whole round, is nothing but heavy pressure. Orobai is landing some nice counters here and there, but Rembeki is just landing the more efficient, heavy shots. And in round 1, there is some sort of head clash that does make the nose of Orobai start to bleed. And then this nasty looping shot hits Orobai right in the eye in the last minute of round 1 that started to immediately swell up his eye. And just immediately, not only the swelling of the eye, but his cheek is just pitch black immediately after that shot. It was so bad that before round 2 started, they had to get a doctor in to make sure everything was good. He was good. Round 2 goes, Orobai goes for a takedown, doesn't get it, and Rembeki's heavy pressure, just like round 1, is starting to show. Orobai lands a nasty uppercut from the break in the clinch that lands cleanly on Rembeki, and it sounded nasty. It wasn't the most damaging shot, but it sounded nasty. Orobai starts to land heavier and heavier throughout the second round, but Rembeki takes him to the cage. Orobai gets a nasty scramble, gets the takedown, but can't really hold down Rembeki there because, to be honest, the blood is getting very slippery. And then Rembeki lands another nasty straight in the other eye of Orobai. So this dude is just completely blind at this point. And then going for a takedown, Orobai goes for a takedown. Head clashes with Rembeki, cutting open Rembeki's head. It is what it is. That just makes the blood even more slippery, and Orobai can't keep Rembeki on the ground because of it. They go back and forth, heavy shots for the last 30 seconds. A very, very even back and forth war in round 2, but I have to give it to Orobai, even though, yes, it was a headbutt. He did cut open Rembeki. It was close. I think he had the more damaging shots. And the judges don't really know that it was a clash of heads that cut open Rembeki. Let's go into, in my opinion, the best round of the year. Round number 3. Both of these guys start off super, super fast and aggressive. Way faster and more aggressive than round 1 or 2. It's back and forth on the feet until Rembeki hits Orobai with a nasty counter, drops Orobai, follows up with some ground and pound, but Orobai practically immediately gets back up. I don't know how. I thought he was out cold, so did the commentators, but he gets back up. Rembeki starts bringing him closer to the cage, starts landing some bombs on Orobai. Rembeki goes for the takedown, gets Orobai down, does some ground and pound work, and this dude is a bloody mess. His face is just nothing but blood. And this is all in the span of the first 2 minutes. There's 3 minutes left. Orobai is getting his face smashed in, back and forth. Orobai gets back up, goes for his own takedown, but very slippery because of all the blood, not only from Orobai, but from Rembeki himself. Lots of scrambles for the last 2 minutes. Orobai eventually scrambles, gets to the top of Rembeki the last 90 seconds, starts landing some nasty ground and pound, but the last 40 seconds, Rembeki gets back up. Orobai lands a nasty, strong straight that wobbles Rembeki. Last 25 seconds of the round, they go back and forth, swinging haymakers. Best round of 2024, the best third round of 2024, and the best lightweight fight of the year. Now, I do have an honorable mention, UFC 306, Daniel Zellhuber versus Esteban Ribovic, back and forth war, but Tik Orobai and Mateusz Rembeki was just next level. Both those fights are amazing. I strongly suggest you watch both of them. Let's go to the welterweight division. Welterweight division, I have an honorable mention that I'm going to mention first. UFC 299, Kevin Holland, Michael Venom Page. Now, Holland pretty much just struggling the entire fight to find MVP's range, and MVP just doing whatever he wants to him. It was fun, a fun introduction of MVP, but me personally, I think UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Nascimento, Trey Waters versus Billy Goff was better. First round, back and forth. Both of them throwing bombs. Billy Goff has more control with the clinch. Had some submission threats here where Waters landed like halfway through round 1. An illegal knee to Billy Goff, but he just ate that shit like nothing happened. Then immediately cracks Waters. Unfortunately, it was only like 15 seconds left where Waters is starting to defend himself and then immediately lands a nice counter that cracks Goff. So both these guys have been hurt for the first round. Both of them swinging last few seconds. A very, very even striking fight. Both of them hurt each other in that round 1, but Billy Goff just had more of that control and ground pound and submission threats. Let's go into round 2. Round 2 started practically the same way as round number 1. Goff mixing in some kicks to the body, to the head, to the legs, having a heavy pressure in the clinch. Billy Goff lands a nice elbow and a knee up the middle, where Waters, he has some nice counters, but he's getting outworked for the first 3 minutes. It's a back and forth fight. He's getting outworked. Last 2 minutes, both these dudes are tired. Both of them are getting clipped by each other. Waters eventually gets a shot that rocks Goff and has a standing guillotine choke for the last 50 seconds. 30 seconds later, they break off. And again, both back and forth, clipping each other. It's 1-1 going into the third, in my opinion. Both these dudes exhausted, back and forth war for the past 2 rounds. Round 3 starts, it's again back and forth for the first minute. They're clipping each other. It's again a back and forth war, both of them having success. Goff goes for a takedown, has him up against the cage for around 2 minutes. Ref breaks that shit off. And and then it's back and forth again on the feet for the rest of the fight. I would say the last 30 seconds, Goff rocks Waters and starts to put it on Waters. And then he gets countered and gets rocked himself, and they swing till the end. Back and forth war, an amazing fight. And again, I think this one's just better than the Kevin Holland and MVP fight because this shit was back and forth nonstop. Highly recommend watching these ones. And like I said, as we go on, it does tend to go down in quality, but these are all great. Middleweight division, let's go into UFC 298. Now, the middleweight division didn't have middleweight, light heavyweight, and heavyweight had a very big problem that a lot of the good fights ended in finish. Middleweight division, the best one I could find that didn't end in a finish, UFC 298, Robert Whittaker versus Paulo Costa. I know a lot of people have seen this one, so we'll break it down pretty fast. Round 1, both these dudes are aggressive. Fast head kick for Paulo Costa, where Whittaker blocks it just in time. And both of them going back and forth. Whittaker with some good jabs, good low kicks. Costa with good jabs and good head kicks, fast head kicks too. Costa eventually starting to have trouble with his leg after the first 3 minutes of the fight because Whittaker's just chewing that shit up. Whittaker is starting to pull ahead towards the end of round 1 with the low kicks, the counters. The speed is really giving Costa some big troubles, but last 7 seconds, Costa lands a crazy spinning heel kick that rocks Whittaker bad. And honestly, I think he probably could have finished Whittaker if there were a few more seconds left. 10 seconds left, he probably finishes Whittaker. But Whittaker goes into round 2, starts off very strong. It looks like he's fully recovered as soon as we start round 2. Both these dudes landing. Whittaker starting to show more in the face. He's more bloody, but don't get that twisted. He's pulling ahead of this fight. Last 2 minutes and 30 seconds, he's mixing it up nicely. Round 2 and 3, he just outstrikes Costa. Slightly outstrikes Costa. It's a close fight. Just slightly outstrikes Costa. It was a back and forth war. Round 1 was crazy. Whitaker came back round 2 and 3. Again, one of the best middleweight fights that didn't end up in a finish. Let's go down. Last ones are pretty ass, so I'm gonna run through them fast. Light heavyweight division, best fight of the year. UFC Fight Night. Moicano versus Saint Denis. I got Ian Kuntalaba taking on Ivan Erslan. Again, slim pickings for the light heavyweight and heavyweight division for good fights that didn't end up in a finish. Now, Kuntalaba started round 1 very aggressive. First 3 minutes, it's all Kuntalaba with small hints of Erslan here and there, but it's all Kuntalaba. He eventually drops Erslan with a perfect 1-2 with 2 minutes left. He outstrikes and mixes in combos for the first and second round, to be honest. And it takes all the way up to round number 3 where, Kuntalaba a little bit tired, where Erslan gets a takedown and pretty much holds him there the entire 5 minutes. So 2-1 Kuntalaba, a good back and forth fight, but like I said, slim pickings when we come to light heavyweight and heavyweight. Let's finish it off. Heavyweight division, the best fight in the heavyweight division 2024 UFC Fight Night. The very first card of 2024, Ankalaev versus Walker 2 heavyweight bout. I have Andrei Arlovsky taking on Waldo Cortes Acosta. I'm not gonna go too heavily into it because this is like one of the only heavyweight fights that were semi-fun that ended in a decision. So pretty much Waldo Cortes Acosta did whatever he wanted to Andrei Arlovsky all 3 rounds. Arlovsky having very little success here and there, but that's my list. Let me know in the comments below, do you have any other fights that you would put here, especially for light heavyweight and heavyweight? Let me know if you have any other suggestions, and remember, it has to be it went to a decision. So that's the only real criteria. Let me know in the comments below if you have anything else. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching to the end of the video. With that being said, there's really not that much else left to say except for I will see you guys in my next video.